I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the second Keeping Current with Kansas City this week. We did one just a couple days ago. Mr. Sperry, how are you today? This is that bell, by the way, in case anybody didn't know my voice. Mr. Sperry's on the other side. I'm not letting him talk. Every time he starts to open his mouth, I'm still talking, which is kind of entertaining because keeping him quiet is a hard thing to do some days. But with all due respect, Mr. Sperry, now he takes a drink. That's what I was going to throw it to him. And he screws me up, so that's fine. I love it. Daniel Sperry, Casey Starr, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Good. It was a beautiful day in Kansas City today, so I will not complain.
Yeah, I wish I would have enjoyed it more. It's one of those days I got a really bad, nasty headache, and I have improved to just a bad headache. So that's an improvement the way this afternoon has went. However, talking soccer is always a good thing. We talked previously this week about the lineup, or not the lineup, but the roster. It's already changed since then. So let's dive into that first.
Yeah.
New player was announced today. We kind of found out about it yesterday under embargo, and I don't really know how to say it correctly. So,
Laura Marta Lacho.
But I've also seen it the exact opposite way. So they've called her Lacho Marta. They've called her Lacho Marta Flora. They've called her Flora Marta Lacho.
I think originally what I was told was that she wants to go by Marta, which is just not going to be possible to have happen in the NWSL. Marta Lacho, we'll hear it occasionally, I assume. But yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Okay. All I know about her is what we read in the press release and what I put in my article. And like that's the hard part. It's the same thing as like a Temo Chawinga or a Jericho. Like you're just banking on, okay, you read it. It looks cool, right? Was the best player in 3 of the 5 games for the team that won the African Women's Champions League. Yes. She is, I went and found Twitter clips and highlights. Surprisingly, there are clips and highlights on Twitter. She is very tricky and crafty in the passes that she can play. She has a very good shot. She's an interesting player, but the question is, does it translate to the NWSL? How does the quality move? Does she have time with how deep that Frontline is how good is she, in terms of fitting in with the team, and getting time and all that kind of stuff. So those are going to be the biggest questions for me.
Yeah, we did get to see her for 10 or 15 minutes in training,
Yeah.
basically just receive passes and make a pass. And honestly, didn't look anything impressive in that little time we saw her. But that's very far from saying she's not an amazing player because, you know, still new to this area and the team. But although she did practice with the team for at least a couple, 3, 4 weeks. I don't know the exact time.
Hmm.
But it was I did have a little fun ambushing Vlaco yesterday in the press availability because we knew about the player. We were able to ask about the player. We just it was embargoed for us to saying anything outside. But I asked him. So I hear you signed Marta.
And he looked a little flustered for a second. I was like,
Yeah,
was
he
I said,
sputtered just a little bit. In fact, I think before we move on to the next thing, I will actually add that audio on here.
mhm.
They cut it out of the video they sent out, I think, but
Which usually you would do if you embargo something until the next day.
although honestly they didn't cut it out originally.
Oh,
I messaged him. I said, "Okay, is it okay to talk about this because you left the clip in?" And
the response was,
there was a panic like I'm deleting it now. Okay, but I have
oh,
the audio from my recorder, so I will probably add that on
yeah.
after this just for the fun of it. But yeah, he sputtered a little bit, and everybody, all the other reporters there knew the ridiculousness of that question and laughed, and then he talked about her. But one of the things he said was she's not like any player that they have currently. However, if he was going to describe her as another player, that she'd be the most like Dabinia because of how she can maneuver and do things in tight spaces.
Mhm.
So that does bode well if he describes her that way.
Um, that are available on Twitter. I'm dead serious, like folks. Like if you want to see some like figure out a little bit, just some clips of some sort, look up Marta Lacho on Twitter. There's a couple of goal highlights, a couple of clips of her making a very nice assist with the outside of the foot on a ball that's threaded in between the center back and the right back to their striker that they then finished. It's a very nice play, very nifty. It also doesn't like come off as fluky either. Like it's very clear what the intent is. The execution is there. So, and even in some of the combination stuff around one of the clips on one of the goals that she scores, you can kind of see that comfortability, as Flacco said, in the tight spaces and kind of that craftiness. And I understand what he's saying and saying he's like Dabinia in that way because there are a lot of players who are not comfortable in the half spaces and
Yep.
in those tight spaces, and Dabinia very much is. Now, there's obviously like Dabinia is world class and one of the best players at that in the entire world. So we're not saying nobody's saying she's as good as Dabinia, but if there were ever a player to be in the mold of, it might be Dabinia.
Yeah, and being a younger version of that also.
Yeah.
And so having that Dabinia quality, but some
Mhm.
other qualities too. Because,
Well, yeah, and she comes to the league as a 25-year-old. Temwa came in at 25 and
yep,
developed and grew very well over the last year. And so I think, maybe that's something that she does as well. There's years ahead of her, and they obviously see her as a bit of a project here. She's got a guaranteed contract, not just through this year, but next year too.
yeah, it's really interesting the amount of talent that they are getting from Africa this over the last couple years. Just,
Yeah.
not just current, but every multiple teams around the
Well,
league.
and it's not just the league; it's in Europe too. I mean,
Yeah,
some of the best teams in Europe it is African descent or African players. It's where players like Banda, Grace Chanda, a couple of these, Tabitha Chawinga's there. There's a lot of really good African players that are playing in Europe
yep,
that are all kind of like that. The continent of Africa is producing a host of world class talent, which is really cool. And so the NWSL is just tapping into it just in the way that Europe did in recent years too.
yep. Um, but women's soccer around the world is a really growing enterprise at the moment, which is all
Hmm.
good. So,
Yeah.
all right. Noticed I was just looking at the official roster online, and she is number 30,
Hmm.
and Mary Long now has a number finally,
Oh, great. What is Mary Long's number?
19.
Okay.
I told at one point that she didn't have a number because she was wanting a different number, but
Hmm.
apparently I don't think that was it. So she got 19.
There you go.
All right. Anything else along that route that we need to cover? Because we covered the roster pretty good the other day.
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
Let's talk this weekend, man. Match day 1.
Yeah. Portland again.
4th year in a row. It's the 3rd year in a row that it's at home, but it is also the 4th year in a row that the Current have started the NWSL regular season at Portland.
Versus
2020 versus Portland. Yes. They did it in 22 on the road at Portland. The famous turf game where Mallory Weber tore her ACL the first time. And then kind of in between all that Challenge Cup success, that game was a bit of an afterthought, but that is a kind of monumental game in Kansas City Current history. Again, a 3-0 loss, though, so not very memorable. But an opportunity to now even the score, I guess, of the 4. This will be matchup number 4 of the 3 matchups. The Thorns have won 3-0 twice. The Current have won 5-4 once.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all, take Xyzal. At night.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate Pina Colada and Thai-iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the Jumbotron first, before attempting to eat a stack of Supreme nachos in one bite. Now you're just a meme that everyone shares on game day. Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Yeah, they would have to score a lot of goals in order to get the goals on aggregate there.
No, I'm saying we only count wins and losses, baby. We're American. Four-leg aggregates. Come on now.
We're American.
You know exactly who's starting off the season against each other next year, right? It's going to be the Current and Thorns again. It's just going to be the thing.
I'm good with that, and starting early being the first game, and
at 11:45 local time again. Thank you, ABC.
11:50 kickoff.
11:50 kickoff. It's listed as a 11:45 broadcast time. I'm sure there'll be pregame and all that hype, so
right
that they can sell you for 45 minutes. So.
Which means we got to show up at like 9 a.m.
Yeah. Parking lots open at 8:45, and I will be there.
Parking lots? They have parking lots?
Okay. There are parking lots.
There are some.
Excuse me.
Actually, since you mentioned Mallory Weber, we could go back to the roster for a second. It was announced that she's not going to be on the roster, but she's going to continue to rehab with the team.
And be part of their, quote, training atmosphere.
Yes.
And also helping out in youth development. So,
yeah.
I don't think it's a surprise that she ends up not on the roster, in my opinion. But I also think, I think the Current are doing whatever they can to make sure that she's taken care of and do right by the situation, which,
yes,
they did with Sam Mewis too. They did with a few others. So I think it's fair and reasonable.
Yeah, I do too. That's kind of why I was bringing it up is that they're giving her still be with the team even if she's not officially rostered, and I'm sure they are finding ways to make sure she is compensated in some way, shape, or form to live and other things. I don't know those, but I'm just assuming. And it was also announced that Pfeiffer, Gabrielle Robinson, and Bia are still technically on season-ending injury, although Bia will probably come off soon.
Yeah.
And when those start coming off, then they start having to making moves because they're pretty much out of room now.
Yes, they are.
And might probably are they out of roster international spots?
No, you got there's a big increase in international roster
Yeah.
spots. The current traded one away. So yeah.
And they also signed a player and then put her on loan. Zombie and forward Frida
Yes.
Mukoma. Um, and they signed her and then sent her on loan to Beijing.
Hmm.
So that's another interesting move. Kind of
Yep.
like that one they signed and loaned to USL Super League and then never showed up again. So,
Yeah.
but I guess that's just to have some depth in case they got to call somebody in.
Sure. Makes sense.
All right, this weekend, like you said, 11:30 or 11:45, 11:50 kickoff. Uh, National TV, Portland Thorns again. What do you know about how the Thorns are? I know they've had a lot of injuries. They've signed a couple players recently. I think they got a couple more coming that they haven't announced. One or
Yeah.
two.
Um, yeah. There might be a local connection that gets announced with them in the coming days. That's all I'll say
Yep.
about that. Um, it's not our news to break in any way, shape, or form, but it's something we heard about through the rumor mill. So,
Yeah.
well, you'll probably see that. I think looking at this roster, they've added Dana Castellanos from Bay FC. She was outgoing there. She was a big signing that came in, but also not one that she wasn't very. I mean this in the nicest way. She didn't have the greatest time in Bay.
No.
She wanted out. She made that clear at the NWSL Media Day, and like within 24 hours later, she was traded to Portland, or released and then traded and then signed with Portland. So it's an interesting group. Obviously, the midfield, you're still going to have Hina Sagita. Jesse Fleming is in there. Sam Coffey, a national team level player. Olivia Moultrie, national team level player. Sagita is a phenomenal player. So you've still got quality in the midfield with them. Just looking at this though, it's tough. They lose two defenders, including Marie Mueller, to SEI, who is going to be a pretty big deal for them in the back line. She's gone. Nicole Payne is also on SEI. There's no more Becky Sauerbrunn. So that's a very interesting back line. Reina Reyes is probably the most, and Sam Hyatt are the two most recognizable names left in that back line. You'll have Bella Bixby in goal too, a quality goalkeeper that's known well in the league, but
Yeah.
at some point too, goalkeepers are only as good as the teams in front of them, and that back line just seems like a really big weak point at the moment. But you look at the forwards. Sophia Wilson will be on maternity leave, so she is out. Morgan Weaver also out on SEI, and she will likely be done for the year. So that's a lot of and another midfielder that they have on SEI, Olivia Wade Cato. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 players on SEI, and Sophia Wilson, arguably the best solo individual player in the NWSL, all around striker. I know we can talk numbers another day, but I think in terms of quality of what she brings, I think she might be one of the best players, if not the best player in the league. To not have that player that you have paid a lot of money to and be centered on your roster, not that this is a her problem thing, but it sucks if you're the Thorns and
Yep.
their team's going to be not as good because of it. But it is also very exciting for Sophia Wilson. Speaking from a standpoint of expecting a family to grow in the coming months. It's an exciting time, so happy for her and all well wishes, and hope everything goes well there. But it's this Thorns team is going to be a little unrecognizable from what you've seen in years past. And, the most recognizable face for current fans will be Alexis Spanstra, who spent 2 years here in Kansas City, was traded to Portland last year, given a little bit more playing time. And they found they worked with her to find a really good situation for her to be in. And so that's kind of looking at that Portland Thorns squad. I expect Spanstra is going to come out wanting to prove some people wrong and score some goals, and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised about that. But this is a very new look Thorn squad, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they look like.
Yeah, I always liked Spanstra, and she really came out 2 years ago, like was starting to at the end of the year just become the player they had hoped that she could be, and then regime change and brought in a lot of other players, and now it was hard for her to get on the field. And but even then, when she did, I thought she was good. But sometimes you see the writing on the wall and you want to play. So I don't blame her. I just missed her. I liked her.
Yeah.
Will not be expecting her to score a lot of goals this weekend, though.
Business taxes. We're stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses.
I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Hi, this is Debbie, your Blinds.com design consultant.
Oh, wow. A real person.
Yep, I am here to help you with everything, from selecting the perfect window treatments
Well, I've got a complicated project.
Oh, not a problem. I can even schedule a professional measure and install. We can also send you samples, fast and free.
I just might have to do more.
Oh, okay.
So the first room we're looking at is for guests.
Shop Blinds.com now and save up to 45% site-wide. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Any predictions on the score? I mean, I know we always like jokingly hate to do
let's
this.
leave it for the end. Let's
Okay.
talk current lineup.
Yes, because I gave you homework.
You gave me homework.
And so we're going to start easy. Who's going to be in goal?
Lorena.
Who you were remarkably impressed with how tall she was the other day.
I was. Just visually from across the field, I was surprised at how tall she was. She is as tall, if not taller, than goalkeeper coach Rocky Kotovsky. I don't know. Her height surprised me. Laurel Ivory is also very tall as well. So they're all. I am short. I'm 5'6", so they are all taller than me. So everybody that's taller than 5'8", I'm like, oh wow, you're tall. But Lorena specifically on the field, you could just see her size kind of popping out there. So I think, same way in the way that Schultz size popped, and the size I think for and Katrin Berger too, in Gotham. Sometimes the big goalkeepers have got the arms and the legs if their reflexes are fast enough, they can get to a lot of stuff that some of the others can't. So yeah, she's listed as 6 foot on the current roster. Yeah, I would believe it.
Laurel's listed at 5'9".
Yeah.
So yeah, Lorena's a very tall and talented keeper, and long as she's anything close to what she was able to do for Brazil, she'll be great.
Mm.
I will match you with that. Yes, it'll be Lorena unless something happens between now and then. Backline, I think it'll look very familiar.
Okay. You go first. You shoot. I had to shoot first with goalkeeper, so you shoot first this time.
Wheeler, Sharples, Cook, Mace.
Okay. I'm gonna go Wheeler, Sharples, Cook, and then I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Katie Scott.
Why?
I don't know. I just have a feeling.
Do you know like Mace is hurt or something, and you haven't told me this?
No, well,
I
I
mean, she
don't
was
know
out
that
there the other day. She was out there.
she was out there. She's in training.
Yeah.
I had heard that she had picked up a bit of a knock, but
The Current are very good at not telling us anything anymore. So
I know.
what
We'll
do I
see.
mean anymore?
She was so here's the thing. Bia was not training with the full team. She was
Right.
off to the side. Haley Mace was in full training. So I could see Mace playing. I could see Mace starting, maybe coming off of the bench. But
Yes.
for some reason I just think I don't know. Vlaco was very quick last year to give Ellie Wheeler a start.
Yep.
I think he's praised Katie Scott's ability and play. He was very not afraid to play Claire Hutton right away. When you thought, oh, there might be other people to play in this midfield here. And I know there has been less talk because there's been less availabilities out of camp and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe they do something like that, or maybe even Elizabeth Ball. I don't know. We'll
True.
see. I have to. I feel like we can't both go chalk for chalk though. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say Katie Scott's the right back.
Okay. And honestly, if for me, if Mace couldn't start, I would either go with Ball or move Wheeler over and let Izzy play left. But
Could see that too.
you just don't know. All right, midfield, you're up. First one's easy.
Claire Hutton.
There we go.
The second one is also easy. Lola Bonta. And then Vanessa DiBernardo.
I think you're spot on. I mean, again, I don't want to match you just because of doing that, but yeah, that's seems a very likely trio to be in that midfield. I think we might see some other different substitutions based upon how that game goes. I mean, maybe you see some of these players come in that we haven't seen as much of, or have never seen, like Marta, the good Marta, the nice Marta. That's what we're gonna go. How about that?
Marta's been nice to me every opportunity I've had to talk to her. So
Fair. That's fair. I understand, but I'm just going from the look on the field that last time.
she is so intense, and it comes across in even like the most like basic conversations with her, and that's just kind of the way she is. Anyways, that's a side tangent. Back to the Kansas City Current. You said you were lockstep there. Okay, give me the forwards. What do you got?
Timois.
Okay.
I will go with Hopkins. And Dabinia. That's really, not a bad choice there.
Michelle Cooper on the bench.
Again, I'm just trying to be a little different because, yes, it most likely will be Michelle Cooper.
Mhm.
But could you imagine Dabinia start and play 45 and then bring Michelle on just to batter the ever-loving hell out of the poor Thorns defense? Because
or you batter them and then all right, here's the Beania suckers.
I know that's I mean I
or
never
Marta or Jericho or someone like that.
Yeah, it's it would be good to see those because we haven't seen enough of Jericho. I never felt like we've seen enough of Jericho. But just in that little bit of training we saw the other day, she looked really good for, again, 15 minutes that we got to see her. But I just feel like in games we have not been able to see her as much. But that she's had a full season, preseason and things like that. So maybe that's bodes well for her to be on the field more. But this is one of those rosters, again, we talk about the roster. This is one of those rosters that you can say we could have two completely different starting lineups, and then every person off the bench is going to just scare the hell out of the players when they come off.
Yeah.
Probably every spot except maybe center back. All right, what are you gonna do then? Because if you
I'm gonna go Deb on the left, Temla at striker, and Coop on the right. I
is
don't
that what you
know.
think, or are you just being different?
I'm just being different. I really don't know what to think.
I
Like
know.
I will be pleasantly surprised with whatever lineup gets thrown out because I think there's a lot of question marks, a lot of stuff, I also think too like the injury report on Friday is when it comes out is going to change a lot.
Yeah.
And not that I know what's going to be on there. I am not saying that in any way, shape, or form. But like, depending on like I will not be surprised if there are people listed as questionable that we were never told or heard about actually had injuries.
Yeah,
So
because we don't have anything to go off from the previous week,
no.
and we've only had the one very short amount of training to watch.
Well,
Previous year, we got a lot more training to watch. We've had just
but
nothing this year.
last year we were at nobody knew Michelle Cooper was hurt until the injury report hit. And we're like, oh my God, Michelle Cooper's not going to play in this game at all.
Yeah.
What are you going to do on the wing? Because in my head, she was a shoe in to start. So I think like I I think like I won't be surprised if there's a surprise, and I think from where we're recording on a Wednesday night, it just might change by the time we get to match day. So
Yeah, and again, we've only seen a short amount of training,
we've
so
seen 15 minutes of training
yeah.
since this entire and whatever social media clips are out there since the start of the season.
So it's we've not been able to see a whole lot.
Yeah.
Last year we did see a whole lot more, even though some of it was very early, but we at least got to see some of it. All right, man. Okay, so we've got through our lineup predictions for this game, which is a total guesswork and more just to give each other crap. Prediction. Goals. Win, lose.
When I say 3-0 current.
I'm gonna go 3-1. Goal by Spanstra. You know what? I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna go 4-1 with a goal by Spanstra.
Okay. The Spanstra open the scoring.
You know, I would actually kind of like that.
I think it would be fun. Just like a wake up call, a punch in the mouth, a nice shot of coffee in the morning, and okay, let's get back to life. Because sometimes those noon and early AM games are sluggish.
Yeah.
Last year's was not because it was hype, 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 new stadium, and then everybody was gassed after like 30 minutes of that game. And I'll be curious to see just how different it is this time around without having the hype of the new stadium and all that kind of stuff. Players were kind of downplaying that, but I really do think that's going to be a big factor in the season opener this year. This isn't the first match at CPKC.
No, but it is a home opener. And mentioning Michelle Cooper not playing last year, she was very much like, "Yeah, I'm ready to play in this game because I wasn't able to last time." And she was like ready to go. And I think just and somebody asked her like what you learned at national team camp, and she's like, "Oh, it's generic answers, but it does just kind of give you more momentum, more confidence, and stuff like that." And she might drive in on goal a little bit more this year. But again, depends on how Laka wants to play her. So,
yep.
Any other topics we need to bring up? Anything I forgot?
All right, give me. Let's do. We didn't plan for this, but I'm going to throw this out. Here we go. Give me who wins the Shield, who wins Golden Boot, who wins NWSL Championship this year.
Man, I kind of got asked this last night a little bit, and like we discussed a lot last year, the top 4 teams would have been a record-setting team for any one of them if it hadn't been all 4 of them doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard to predict who's going to be good until you see them play. Because teams can go from being pretty mediocre to really great or pretty mediocre from after having been great. So it's a little hard to tell sometimes. Buy the roster and buy a team that obviously had built the foundation. I sound like Blanco. Now they're just layering more and more pieces on top of it. Should be better. I mean, should be better for a team that was one of the best in the league all year round. Can Orlando keep up what they did last year? I think they're the top two teams at this point, but there's going to be a couple teams very close to them again.
Yeah.
So hard to say. I mean, just for my heart would want to say Kansas City will be the Shield winner and go all the way, and it'll just be the storyline that they couldn't do it in their own stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Although we don't know where the championship will be played this year.
We don't know where the championship will be played yet.
So, how about you?
All right, so here's my go. I say, I'll choose not to be a homer. I'll say the Spirit win the Shield. I say the Current do win the NWSL Championship. And then I do say Timo repeats. I don't think as Golden Boot. I don't know if she breaks her own record, but I do think she repeats. My big question, really, I think the Spirit are a really deep team. As long as they can stay healthy or avoid Trinity Rodman hopping overseas, as she has mentioned very candidly that she wants to do at some point. When the European teams are in their summer transfer window, do they get really aggressive with transfer fees and trying to make something happen? Does Trin allow it to happen? Like, those are question marks around that Washington team. I just think they're insanely deep and they have a very good coach. So I think that Spirit team should be taken very seriously just as much as Orlando. I do think Gotham take a step back, and I'll be curious who jumps into that conversation with the four. Is it the Courage? Is it a team like the Courage lose Caroline? Do they take a step back, or are they just so consistent with who they are that they do that they end up being really good? Does a team, to me, like Chicago, kind of interesting, some of the moves that they've made, although Mal Swanson's absence has been difficult, but I don't know, looking at it, there, to me, there's very clearly three top teams. There's another two or three that are kind of question marks after that. And so the question is, how does that shake out? Does the table shake out that way where it's just a top three as opposed to the top four last year? But for me, I think Spirit, Current, and Orlando are going to be, and the Pride are going to be the three teams in the mix for all of it.
Feels weird to me, though, that I've heard some people saying Utah's a dark horse to finish near the top.
They're an interesting team. I know. They could be if there's any team that I would pick that didn't make the playoffs last year to shoot their way up, it would be Utah for sure.
Yeah,
and they were on a very good run too, towards the end of the year after they fired Amy Rodriguez. So,
all right, we only have a couple minutes left. So, do we want to try to dive into anything more? Because I was going to throw out there, without going into any long soliloquies, what's the one weakness on the Current? What would be the one thing if you're looking from the outside, go, this would concern me?
Defensive midfield. I think they've got a lot of very attack-minded, go midfielders. I don't know. We hear the Vlatko Warriors and Artists thing. I don't know if there's enough Warriors in the midfield.
All right. I will just say age. You got a lot of the talented players that will need to be good that are getting up there. Dabinia, I'm not sure how old Vanessa is, but Lowe's getting up there. These are players that need to be counted on, and they're starting to get up there. You got a lot of younger players, or in that middle range that can fill in. But I would just say age would be a concern. Cool.
All
right. Anything last words before we shut it down?
Nope.
Thanks everybody for listening, and I will get this posted tomorrow morning probably. And we are out. So, Coach, I know it's not going to be announced yet, but I hear you've signed Marta?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, yes, Lacho Marta is a player that we signed that we're excited to have on the team, and I think that she is someone that will take just a little bit of time to get to her best game. But so far, she's been training with us for a few weeks and has done very good.
What does she bring? What position? What does she bring?
Yeah, she's a very interesting type of forward. I don't think we have a forward like that on the squad. She's very good in very tight areas. I would say if I have to pick a player like that now would be Deb. Like just tight and tricky in tight spaces. Has an ability to eliminate players and combining with her teammates. But also brings some interesting intensity defending.
Awesome. Coach, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yep.